Hello, hi there, Sally. We are live. Hello to everyone out there in LinkedIn world and anywhere else you're watching. Sally, welcome along.
Thank you.
Where
Super
are
excited to be
you in the
here.
world today?
Today, I just landed in Amsterdam, the Netherlands. I'm usually based in Barcelona. Um, but yeah, I decided to change the sun for the rain today.
Why so? Have you got something specific on in Amsterdam, or did you just fancy some time spent there?
I actually lived here for about 3 years, on and off, and I haven't been here to see my friends and for a while. The coincidence is that I just took a remote job in Amsterdam in a community called Olmec, and we have an event this weekend. So since I just started in the company and I wanted to see everybody, I've been a member for 2 years of the platform. Now I'm going into the other side, being part of the team. I really wanted to meet everybody in person, so that's the reason I'm here.
That's great. Well, must be nice to catch up. We said we weren't
Hi.
going to talk about the weather, so we won't. But
Which is
what's the weather like where you are? We got a few people along already. 4 or 5 people joined us, so thanks for that. Where are you tuning in from? Let us know in the chat, and we'll just wait a few more minutes before getting started on our chat today, which is called The Benefits of Deep Focus for Writers.
hmm.
Really looking forward to learning about how to focus better, because I think we all need that, but
How's your focus, Philip?
a lot worse than it used to be. So I'm genuinely am looking forward to a lot of tips and help on that front. I guess
Good.
my focus is a bit worse because I do a lot more on social media and a lot of
Mm.
sort of running my own business. When I was writing a few years ago, I had very good focus. But
Mm.
all right, well, we've got a few people here joining us. Belinda, hi, welcome along.
Hello.
Talking about the weather. Hi there, Matty, tuning in from Maryland. Great to have you. Hope you're looking forward to some tips about focus. Dana, welcome along. We've got a few different continents covered here. Vancouver, Canada, Nisreen, welcome. Fantastic. All right, well, as a few more people filter in, Jimmy, hi there, Jimmy. South of England is wet. Sorry about that.
That's to be.
If anyone's interested, it's a bit dusty here in Gran Canaria where I am. We've got half the Sahara blowing over the ocean. I shouldn't complain, but it's not very nice. Anyway, right, great to have everyone here. Welcome along. Sally,
Mm.
can you introduce yourself? Who are you and what do you do?
Yeah. I've been working in the film industry for 15 years. And I started what people say from the ground up. I didn't go to film school or anything. I learned everything on the job. And in the last few years, I've been focusing more in work as a screenwriter and as a director. At some point, I quit working on sets because I developed an autoimmune condition related to stress, and that's what led me to use meditation as the way to deal with my disease and the anxiety and the stress of the industry, and also focusing much more on writing because I thought it will be more chill. But then you start working for, I don't know, I started working for Netflix, and I did also some work for Disney, and no, there's nothing chill about working with anybody really, not only the big companies. It's a lot to take on projects. And I slowly left a little bit the industry because I was more and more captivated by the power of the mind and how it determines our life. So I went from telling stories because I wanted to change the world to realize they're very powerful stories running inside our minds that are really defining the way we experience life. And so at the moment, I work as a meditation teacher, as a coach also. focusing on, of course, mental health and powerful tools of meditations, mostly from the Buddhist tradition, applied to modern life and modern people and now religious settings, um, to all kinds of things. And some of them are deep work and deep focus and everything that can makes our work life much more effective and powerful, and our work more powerful.
That's a great introduction, and yeah, I hope everyone is as pleased to meet you as I am. It's really good for me. I mean, hopefully, everyone tuning in knows more or less what I do. I'm a field English writing coach. I help multilingual writers to write proficient English, and usually help professionals, content writers, copywriters, creative writers too. And I have a community and courses that I run. But I love doing these events because you get all of these connected parts of writing. There's sort of focus and productivity as well as delivering like high quality work or accurate work, and or work which can get lots of attention or engagement. So it's really great to have these chats every month or so, and hope everyone out there is looking forward to hearing Sally's tips on how to focus better. That's what we're here to hear. So let's get started on that. And I should say as well, if you've got questions, please just type them in the chat, let us know, and we will answer them at the end. Yeah, let's get started and dive into the topic. What's the problem here, Sally? What is the problem related to our focus as you see it?
I think the first thing we gotta think about when we think about our attention is how we give it away. I have a little story to illustrate that. When I was a kid, my dad, every time he will buy some clothes, he will take the time to take any branding out. And at some point, as a teenager, I want to wear brands. And I asked my dad, why do you do that? And he said, nobody paid me to promote these brands. I paid them, not, they didn't pay me. And I thought about this story when I thought about how we give away our focus, because we're giving our focus, which is so valuable, our attention, and the capacity of our mind to keep focusing on the important things. We tend to give it away nowadays for free to companies who actually live off that attention. It's the economy of attention, right? And the thing is, if I have 24 hours in my day and I dedicate some of that time to being on social media platforms, and we're going to see responding emails and doing all sorts of things, somehow we have to think that it's not that I dedicate some part of my day to work and another part of my day to distraction. It's like the more time I spend in distraction, the more difficult it is for my brain to go and focus after. It's not something that we can jump in and out of it with such ease that we could say, oh, I'm going to give myself an hour of distractions, or I'm going to let distractions interrupt my work. And it's just some time that has been here and some time that has been there. Now, every time my work is interrupted, it's taken away from my capacity for concentration. And I think we not only see that, as you were saying, that the years are passing by, you're also handling a business which requires a lot of emailing, a lot of being on social media, on platforms, and your focus is becoming worse and worse. But we also see it on children, on teenagers who are actually being born in this kind of economy of attention, and it's going to be way more difficult for them.
Yeah, I mean, I was nodding my head with what you were saying, but we nowadays we often think of it as like me versus my phone, or me versus Facebook or something. It's like Facebook is a lot smarter than one person. There are thousands of people working to get your attention on Facebook, and so if you think of it like that, as you said, if you think of it as, oh well, I'll just spend 10 minutes on Facebook and then get back to my work, it doesn't really work like that.
No, it's not minute plus minute. And I don't know what the ratio is, but the truth is we're constantly training our mind to repeat things. to repeat thought patterns, but also to repeat the way it handles information, the way it does things. So the more we do one thing, the more stronger the neural connections and the neural circuits become, and the more we're going to have a tendency to do that. So there's one specific scientific aspect that very few people talk about, which is actually having concentration on just one thing allows not only for the neural pathways, which is what forces us to repeat things over and over again. They not only become stronger, but there's a substance called myelin that is built all around it that makes it that the neurons fire much faster. And so the more I do that specific thing, the more that insulation is built around those neural pathways. And the faster I can do that, the better I get at it. This is how I learn something new. So what happens nowadays is that when I'm before, for people, I'm 37, at least my generation and before, uh, we had undivided attention on things when we were learning things. Your parents bring you a present that is a puzzle, a wooden thing, and you start building it, and you have 100% your attention on this thing. That makes it possible for the brain to understand what are the neurons that are connected to this activity and highlight them and make them stronger and make that insulation work faster for you. Nowadays, you might be doing the puzzle and you check a message. The connection is broken in your brain. It does too many neurons are firing at the same time. The neurons for the puzzle, the neurons for the phone, the neurons for the notification of the email. And so it doesn't know which pathway to support. And it means that because you don't have stronger pathways than others, you're just floating in between a lot of what we're going to talk today about. Is called shallow work, which is all these things that we can do while we're doing other stuff. So in distraction, we could actually be singing a song and writing something, or those activities that we can do all at the same time. Those are shallow activities, and they don't give us all the potential that we have. Those are the things that are easy to do. But if we want to get really deeply creative and create our best work and many other things, do it with satisfaction, mental health, presence. All these things are going to require me to be 100% focused in one thing without distraction.
Yeah, and what you said about giving attention away for free versus value is like we have to change our minds from it's free now to take a quick break or to pay attention to something else. We're not giving away we're not getting harmed now, but we're getting harmed later because our this very valuable work is not coming to fruition, which it could. So I guess it's trying to see that bigger picture as well of like that novel that is still not quite getting written.
Exactly. And also considering the future in that sense of, if I say next year I'm really going to sit and write this novel, which is, you should never think about your novel right now. I guess that's what you recommend to people who work with you. It's like, if you're going to start writing, just sit down and start doing it. But if you're planning on that super novel for the next year, and this year you're going to just dive into continuing with your mode of being constantly distracted or doing very shallow work, you're not going to be able to go there. You need to train your mind for concentration. It doesn't switch on when you need it. Even if some people have experiences of flow work, which is what we call when we are just doing one activity and it feels amazing, you totally forget the sense of time, right? We all have those experiences. They're not sustainable. You can find ways to reproduce them. Again, it's training of the mind, but you need to be able to start training your focus if you want to use it at some point to create your better work.
Yeah, great points. Let us know what you think. People out there listening, do you agree? Do you find it difficult to create this deep work, this more valuable work? Is that something you've noticed? Let us know you're still there, you're still listening. I wanted to dive into this idea of work-life balance. There's a lot of these buzzwords and terms out there now. How does that fit into this idea of the attention economy and focus? What's your idea about work-life balance?
Yeah, I think that conversation has been going, which is okay, towards how do we, if you have a family, how do you combine that with normal working hours? But then what happens with entrepreneurs who are building their businesses? There's all these things happening. Everybody's thinking, how do I balance my life? Because I also need, to have a full life, a beautiful life, to then be effective at my work. That mental health, that sense of satisfaction and time to rest, which is also incredibly important to create good work. And I think a point that has been missing is precisely about focus. If I train my mind to focus properly and I practice deep work, which is undistracted time for taking my cognitive capacities as far as I can take them and keep learning to get them even further every time. If I make a point to bring that into my life, what it means, because of everything that I explained before about the brain and the neurons, is I'm going to be able to make great work in less time every time. I'm training my mind to get at least a great quality of work that I'm going to keep going deeper and deeper into and test myself and add new skills faster, because we also learn faster when our attention is undivided. And that is going to allow me to complete everything that I want to do faster. That means that when people start talking about work-life balance, what about the work that now we cannot do? I mean, our working hours are getting extended and extended and extended because our minds are incapable for concentration. We're constantly distracted throughout our day. So what we needed 4 hours to do before, we need 6 hours to do now. It's going to get bigger and bigger. Younger generations need more time for tasks that need a lot of concentration, which means at some point we cannot work 12 hours a day just because our concentration is not allowing us to do the job. But it's reversible in the sense that the opposite also happens. The more I train my concentration, the better I get at it, the faster I complete the same amount of work with better quality, the sooner I go home. And that is a missing link that is happening in the conversation of work-life balance, in my opinion. And it's being brought by people who are researching the 4-day work week, which is actually bringing this idea that if we reduce the amount of time we have to complete the tasks, a lot of shallow activity gets thrown out of the window. What we realize in companies that were testing this is like a lot of meetings were canceled because it's just they were just not useful for the time they would take. A lot of emailing, a lot of instant communication was thrown out of the window because there was no time. People were asked to do in 4 days what they before did in 5 days. And that made better productivity. People will focus much better, get more work done. So even days could get shorter and shorter, all because focus was improving.
What about in the situations? So, that conversation is about being the 9 to 5 kind of office jobs. That's, I guess, what we talked about with the 4-day work week. What about for people like me who run their own business, love writing and language, so that's kind of work and life. And, I'm doing those activities all the time. And sometimes it's very difficult to separate, well, what is, work and what is just something that I'm doing because I want to, or it's all getting mixed up. So should I be separating, and any entrepreneurs, should they be separating these two? Should we have really demarcated, right, that's for work and then that's to, go and
I think
not
the
work?
first,
Or the opposite? Is it just accept that it's all together and try and figure that out that way?
I think the first separation that has to be made, and when I was in the film industry, that used to be also my situation. I remember my therapist said to me once, "What do you do for fun?" And I'm like, "I go to the movies." And it's like, no,
That's
that's not
research.
it. That's research, exactly. So I think the first separation that has to be made is, how do you feel when you're writing for work, and how do you feel when you're writing for yourself or for what you consider your hobby? If for some people there is a tension or there's a stress that is built when the work is for, because if you're a freelance writer, for example, you're going to have a client, if you are not a freelance writer and you just create and put out into the world, but your life depends on you putting work out, that is sort of your client too. So there is a sense of pressure that is not with, you should not be there for your hobby or the writing that you do for pleasure. But then the other important thing is that we have to be very intentional into taking rest, even if it's the thing that we love the most. And here's the reason why. It has to do also with innovation, actually. The reason why is because we are operating most of the time with our conscious mind. And our conscious mind is way more limited than our subconscious mind. To give you an example very quickly, I'm sure the numbers are changing all the time, but this is just to illustrate. They measure how much information your conscious mind versus your subconscious mind is handling per second as you exist in any situation. So the amount of information per second that your conscious mind handles is about 50 bits of information. Your subconscious mind in the same second is handling 11 million bits of information. That means that right now, people are paying attention to what we're saying, and they're not paying attention to the temperature of their feet. But if I say temperature of your feet, your 50 bits of attention are switched to other places just because I mentioned them. But before I've mentioned them, your subconscious mind knew exactly the temperature of your feet at the same time that it's knowing everything that is happening around you. So why, when I rest, I allow my subconscious mind to take the information from the conscious mind and reorganize it. And that is why some of our best ideas come in the shower, or having a walk, or right before falling asleep. Because
So,
it's your
so,
conscious mind being able to deliver you information that has been actually put together a much more profound amount of information than the one your conscious mind is managing.
is that what you mean by rest then? Is like doing an activity mindfully or just doing one activity? I heard actually, I read a thing about in Holland, I think there's some, I don't know what the word is, but it's a Dutch word for the concept of doing nothing. And it's
Okay.
become a bit of a like social phenomenon. More people want
Mm.
to learn about it and do it. And it's the idea of sort of just doing nothing, like actually just sitting there and doing nothing. If anyone knows that in the chat, just share it. But yeah, my question was, is that what you mean by rest? Is like doing an activity with no distraction where there's one general task like walking or having a shower or something like that?
It should be ideal that resting feels different for different people, but some people cannot just sit on a chair or the couch and look to a wall. I have friends who can do that. I have friends who cannot do that. Like they will go mad. They're like, no. Some people need it to be actually doing something, but can it be something that is, yeah, that you have your full attention on it without pressuring your attention to be there? So it doesn't feel like work. It feels like gardening. You're focusing on something and it's beautiful and it has a pace and you're not forcing yourself to any result. Um, it should feel light and it should feel also an opportunity to not keep going with mind processes. It should be something that you actually realize that you don't know what you've been thinking in the last half hour. You were so
Yeah.
into what you were doing and so relaxed. And that can mean, for some people, that can be meditation, that can be cooking, mindfully doing something without thinking about the future or the past, and without forcing your attention, trying to keep your attention forcibly on anything.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess mindfully doing an activity, like for me, that means it has to involve some kind of movement processes.
Mm.
Like, I mean, two that spring to mind for me are swimming, playing the guitar, maybe running as well, but doing something where you're sort of concentrating on not drowning and just doing your lengths of the pool or the sea and concentrating on playing the right note and just moving your hands in
Mm.
the right way. And that's things where I feel like able to not think about other things.
And there's an important component to feeling in those moments. It's not, all life is not about thinking about it or perceiving it. There's a, when we're doing pleasurable things or relaxing things, there is a lot of attention put in feeling and what we're feeling in the moment, the relaxation that we're feeling. So I think that that is a very important component of it.
We've talked a bit about digital distractions and, this work-life balance. In terms of the quality of work that we're producing, obviously it's better to produce this deep focus work. It has more value. How can we produce our best writing through deep focus? I know many of the people here are going to be writers. What are your thoughts on that, Sally?
There is this balance, what we're saying, between allowing yourself to go deep and undistracted. And that is going to be hard because we're all addicted to distraction. That's also a very important part of it. So even if we sit down and say, okay, I'm not gonna, I'm gonna close the windows. I have notifications or little numbers telling me how many emails arrived. I'm gonna, maybe even disconnect the Wi-Fi when I'm using the computer to write. We can do all these things. There will be an urge that is coming saying, check your phone, check your phone, check your phone now. And that is the addiction that we have with these distractions, right? So on one part, we have to work on that to be able to go deeper and deeper. And when we go deeper, as we said, our pathways in our brain get stronger, the connection is stronger, we learn faster, we adapt to new information faster, and we conceptually can analyze information in a way that we can't when we're just handling many things at the same time. So that is the deep work state. I can actually conceptually develop ideas and sense things that I would not if I'm constantly distracted and in a shallow mode. Um, and that is very important in the sense of making the differentiation, for example. And this is, I think, the post that you put online, and then we checked about it, which is what happens with innovation nowadays for writers, comparing AI and what's happening with AI writing and human writers. And I think the beautiful thing that I want to give to human writers who are worried about this is that AI are machines, computers, zeros and ones, who use math and who use everything that has been created before in order to create something seemingly new that cannot be new because it's just a combination of things that already exist. It cannot create anything new, not innovation, because it doesn't have the tools to do it. It's not designed for that. And I don't think it can be. Humans have, as I explained before, a subconscious mind. A subconscious mind that is so powerful and is gathering so much information that innovation is possible. A human mind can, through the senses, through non-sensorial experiences, through reasoning, through feeling, the combination of all those ways of perceiving reality through dreams, through so many functions that the human brain has, we create things that never existed before. But we cannot do that if we're constantly operating on the shallowest part of our brain. We need to allow ourselves to build focus, to go deep, to be undistracted, and to let our minds accept also boredom. That's very important for concentration. That's part of the tips we're going to see at the end. It's like when you're queuing in a restaurant, in the metro, whatever, don't check your phone. This kind of things, because the more distraction you bring in moments where your brain is like, give me distraction, those are the times that you can train it to actually go deeper into experiences. So if I'm queuing to get in the metro and there's a lot of people, can I look at the colors that everybody is wearing? Can I pay attention to the conversations happening around me? Can I be fully immersed in the experience? Because I know that a part of the experience I'm being conscious about, and maybe it sounds a boring conversation between two people, but my subconscious mind is having a full experience of everything that is happening. And there's something probably happening behind me that will show up later into something that I had it. And, people call it later intuition. How do I know this thing? I've never experienced this. How do I know it? And it's like your subconscious mind has experienced it. And so that is something that cannot be substituted through machines.
Yeah, great point. It does feel quite superficial, either creating or generating or even reading content from machines, because it's, yeah, as you say, you get this deeper experience of sensory information. And for centuries, that's what writers have done, right? It's like paid attention and observed and been able to unlock things in their subconscious through writing prompts or, different methods to get that out onto the page. So I see that, we're in this age of fast content. Just you get the click, get the eyeballs, and maybe that's useful for companies who want to do that. It's useful in some context, but the trained writers who are going to be getting more value out of being professionals in the industry need the skills of being able to do both, being able to be productive and create attention grabbing work, but also this deeper level. Yeah, for sure. Let's move on to some of those techniques then. So what are your top tips? And we've got some questions, I think, so we'll get to those towards the end in 10 minutes or so. But yeah, first, Sally, what are your tips for deep work? How can we train our minds to focus better?
So now if anybody has a pad and wants to pull out their note application, here I'm just going to throw you things that you can try. And please do feel what catches your attention or things that you think you can include into your life as it is. I'm seeing the question from Belinda about how she can find focus time if she has children. I'm really sure you're going to find things here. And there's actually authors who've been working, who's been doing deep work that have work on that. I'm going to look for the name and also put it in the comments of the replay. So for sure, check that out. I will put more information. Here are a few things. We already said resting is important. And so one of the things that you can start implementing in your schedule of your day is having that moment at the end of the day when you really switch off. And that really switch off is like really switch off. Like anything that you do after you finish your work, that is just checking and see, if the email has arrived or not arrived, what the client has said. None of that when you're exhausted is going to bring any value. And so instead of being in between states of working and rest, allow yourself to fully go into rest. And that already makes you more present in your life. You will enjoy better your relationships. Your family will enjoy you better. Any hobbies that you will have more time for them. And it's just, and I'm not telling you should finish at a certain time or work these hours. No, just when you finish, making sure you actually finish. That brings me to another point, which is we cannot always trust that, okay, from now on, I'm going to do deep work. I'm going to switch off my phone and I'm going to concentrate. Okay. We cannot trust that we're going to do that every day because we are moody humans. And so moody humans wake up in the morning and they say, I don't feel it today. I'm not going to do it. And we know that our mind, our brain works with habit. The more I repeat something, the easier it becomes. And it's really hard at the beginning. Okay. That means that I have to make plans for myself. And that sounds like schedules and rituals that I decide to put in place, habits, routines that I decide to put in place when I'm feeling hopeful and inspired, and that I follow through when I don't feel so inspired, just because I promised my future self that I was going to do it. And there's a very strong reason to do and create those routines for yourself, is because your mind loves to know what's going to happen and it starts preparing for it. So if you're going to have a shutdown ritual, that means I'm switching on all the tabs in my computer. I am leaving any emails knowing that I will take care of them tomorrow. There's nothing urgent, nothing that's going to, break my life right now, set it on fire. Everything is fine. If I start having that shutdown ritual, and maybe the next thing is a shower, maybe the next thing is a short run, whatever it is in your life, if you do it the same way every day, your mind knows you're switching off and it's going to help you because it knows what's coming next. It works also the other way around. Hey, mind, I'm going to start a deep work session. I'm going to do it every day from 6 a.m. to 7 a.m. before the day starts. At 6 a.m., if you do it enough times, if you have a few things like the coffee cup, like the opening the window, something that you repeat every time, your mind knows, oh, it's deep work time. And it's going to help you get into that deep work state. So here are a few things that are very subtle, but if we understand how the mind works and it loves repetition and it loves prediction, then we can give it these things and it will help us. And also, this is very important also because willpower is finite. So if we only use willpower to change things in our lives, it won't work. It won't take us far enough. Willpower is finite. So we need routines that are there when we're not, and sometimes we have a terrible day and we don't want to do it, and that's fine. But let's not always depend on having the mood to do it, because the mood is from the past. I have the mood of what I did yesterday. I need to have the mood of what I want to be in the future. And that comes through routine. Make
Just
sense?
it definitely does make sense. I already feel more relaxed thinking about that end of day routine. I'm imagining the like computer sound that you get when you turn off the computer and it goes da 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 da. It's a power down
Yeah.
routine. Yeah, I wanted to say about the about willpower. Drives me mad when people say things like, "Oh well, we need to look at our phones less," and they say to kids or teens, "Oh, just don't look at your phone." It's like, well,
Mm,
obviously, if that worked, just saying, "Oh, just don't do it," have the willpower to not look at
yeah.
it, then it wouldn't be a problem for anyone. So it's absolutely terrible advice to just say, "Oh, well, just be strong and like don't look at it." You have to input some kind of
Mm,
hard. Again, I don't know if I'm the best person at doing these kinds of things, but in the past I have blocked out time in my diary or done things which are like hard rules of, well, that's a pattern I want to create. And the only way for me to do it consistently is to have this schedule and to live by it. So that's
mm,
one thing I've found, especially for like writing time, putting it in a diary. I go to the library, I go somewhere else which involves movement and routine and getting there and setting up and right, I'm there, so I'm going to do this session. But yeah, I like those ideas for sure.
And that actually leads us very well to another point about these routines. We waste a lot of energy, focus, and time deciding if I want to do it or not. So if your schedule for the entire week is set up, be flexible with yourself and have compassion if you cannot make it. But have a set up schedule when you don't have to decide, do I want to do deep work today? Do I sit down at this hour or this other hour? Because if I constantly ask myself to decide, I'm already losing the energy and wasting a lot of energy on it. I mean, yeah, losing the energy, right? And it's given me the possibility to actually check out from the plan that I did. And so erase as much as possible. Just I decided what I'm doing tomorrow. I'm waking up and I'm doing it. And this transition of, do I really want to do it? It's out of the question. It becomes part. You go into it much faster. You get focused much faster because your mind is not in the doubt mode. Another thing that you can confirm for me or not, but as a writer, it certainly happened to me. Another thing that chips away very strongly our focus is lack of confidence. And so, what I don't believe that what I'm about to do, I can do it, my mind is trying to find any way to distract me from it because it feels a little painful. And so trying to realize that that might be a blockage that some people have when they sit and want to start working, and lots of distractions. No, let me clean the kitchen first. Now let me respond to all the emails, the 100 emails that are there first. All these things can be hiding just a lack of focus on the task that you want to do. And it happens with the starting writers too a lot. So we should also have that in perspective.
Yeah, I guess just set goals that you can reach. I mean, but writer's block and lack of confidence comes from having a goal which is seemingly insurmountable, and you think, oh well,
Mm,
I can't write anything good, so I won't write anything. But if your goal is to finish a plan or to write 200 words or, whatever the attainable target is for you, then go for that and try and get there.
For me, one thing that used to work when I had to deliver scripts for clients would sometimes happen at 6 a.m. the day I had to deliver them because of that insecurity was like, just write, I have to write 6 scenes, just write one. Just write the dialogue of it. Just write the description. And if you start, then it's much easier to go into it. So I recommend also that for not necessarily focus, but it helps with
Kind
the
of
big picture.
like a 5-minute egg timer, isn't it? I mean, if you write for 5 minutes, why would you stop? You're in and going. So that's a good way to trick your brain into not overthinking things.
Exactly, and let you go in there. I want to bring people's attention to precisely attention residue, okay? And this is the idea that when you do an activity, a task, and you then move to another one, if the previous task is not finished or is somehow closed, you cannot productively move to the next one. Your mind becomes divided in between the two, and they have this nagging feeling that something is pending that doesn't allow you to fully focus on what's next. And so at the end of your day, with things that are not finished, or when you're moving from one task to another, give yourself a sense of closure and give yourself some time to get up, make some tea, take a breather, and then move to the next activity. Because the more you continue like that throughout the day, the more like add task after task, your productivity is plummeting. Your concentration plummets. And it's just because your mind is like, I'm handling too many things at the same time. There are too many plates in the air at the moment. So that's something to really keep into consideration. Just close things in a way that it might be, oh, I'm going to put this in my to-do list and I'm going to get back to it tomorrow at that time. I put it in my agenda. I park it there. And then I can continue and do something else after a little break. That's very important for focus. I remember
Great tip.
in the comments of this event, someone said that they fully disconnected for an entire day every week. And that is amazing. If people can find, some people cannot disconnect a full day, even though Sundays are a great day for disconnecting, because usually we don't get that much communication or don't feel that we have to respond to work emails or anything. But if you can find one day when you're completely out of screens, out of anything that is addictive and distracting to you, because for some people it will be something else. Some people do this once a week, and because we're habit animals, basically, we need this repetition. Some other people take a retreat of 1 month every year, or every trimester they take 1 week off of everything. That is a bit more difficult, it's more intentional. If people are meditation practitioners, that is much more common because we go on retreat off as much as we can. But and if that is not possible, at least having one morning saying, I'm going to be this entire morning without anything that is distracting in my life, not checking phone or social media or anything. That leads me to another important tip. I said I have many, so just cut me when you want.
Well, we do want to get to people's questions, so
Yeah.
if you've got a couple more tips, that would be great, and then it would be nice to answer some of the questions we've had because they look really interesting.
Let's do it. Why do I select one? Grand gestures. Let me talk to you about grand gestures. Our brain has a way to prioritize things. Okay. The first thing it prioritizes is danger. And so it doesn't matter what's happening. Your subconscious mind is always watching for danger. If you're walking on the street on the phone, the priority of your subconscious mind is knowing that there's no cars coming and stuff like that. It will take your attention away from whatever you're doing to put it in what's dangerous. But there are 3 more things in that list. The next thing is, let me not get it wrong. The next thing is what is important. The next is what's pleasurable and what's interesting, in that order. The beautiful thing is that all of them actually, but I'm not going to get into that. The last 3 are completely personal. what you find interesting, what you find pleasurable, and what you find interesting, interesting, is totally personal. So you can switch those things. You can actually decide that what you're about to do is so incredibly important for your life, and find the real reasons. This is not just mentioning stuff or doing affirmations with no base. This is really, if you want to write this novel and you have so much resistance to it, make a grand gesture to show yourself how important it is. And that might look like booking an entire week in a countryside hotel just to write. That is ways in which using exterior things, not only our mind saying this is important, this is important, this is important. No, show me it is important. Our mind gets these things. It's like, if I'm going to spend this money to go away just to focus on my novel, I can assure you, when you get to the hotel, your mind is going to help you to sit, because it's going to be like, wow, this is so important for Sally. It's so important for her. Look what the amount of effort she's putting on doing this. And it's going to collaborate with you. So you can find the different ways in which you can apply that in your daily life. um, what little, this is like, a partner, what little gesture can I have towards my project? Can I give him something in the morning? And those things work. It sounds really silly, but it works. You're just showing your mind what is important for you. And to finish, I just want to go through some tips that are about actually how do I work with my focus, and then people can research them in other places, or ask on the comments. I'm super happy, or get in touch with me. It's totally fine. These are things that make total sense. I don't need to explain them very much. Memorizing things, which is something that we don't do anymore. We don't even memorize people's phone numbers. Memorization is more an action of attention than an action of memory. And so if you love a poem, memorize it. There's no more beautiful thing than having beautiful text in your mind. And that is a way to train your focus. Meditation, obviously, is one of the biggest techniques to actually learn to focus your mind on what you want to focus your mind, and have more power of where your mind is going when, so that you decide where you put your attention and your power. You can also do productive meditation, which means I take a subject and then analyze it, and I go super deep in it. Maybe something you're working on for your novel, some piece of research, something about a character. And you can meditate on it with certain rules to keep your mind from not going away from the center of the subject until you get something you've never thought before. And that is a very interesting practice, very old, actually, Tibetan Buddhist practice that can be applied to a modern setting. Let me just say one more. Choose the social media platforms that you use. And don't choose them based on how easy it is to get on them. Choose them based on what value they bring into your life. And if they don't bring enough value, just let them go. A great way to test if they bring value or not, if you need them or not, if you leave Instagram for 30 days, does anyone miss you? Really? Did anything change? Really? And if it does, go for it. Schedule yourself the times of your day that you're going to go there. But if it doesn't, and it's not adding anything to your life, in 30 days, you don't even remember you had an Instagram account, then you know you can delete it. And I'm going to end there.
Great tips. I was
useful.
taking notes along with the rest of you. Let's get into some of these questions. First question, I think some of your tips may have answered this, but Ayn says, how can you focus your brain during a 5-minute break at the desk? Any tips there?
Yeah, that is a great exercise. If you can close your eyes and bring your attention inward. And because we'll always have our attention to what's happening around, can I bring my attention inward and pick one place in your body when you truly feel the sensation of the air coming in and the air coming out, and try to bring your attention and keep it there. And when it goes away, which it will, don't get frustrated. Just bring it back to the place where you want to have it. If the breath is difficult, feel your hands. What is the temperature of your hands? What is the temperature of your feet? Connect with something physical, because the body lives in the present moment. We live everywhere. We can be past, present, work, text, emotions. We can be everywhere, but our body can only be here and now. And so I need to use my body to connect with my here and now. And 5 minutes, it's been demonstrated in scientific and Western science that 3 minutes of meditation a day already makes a change to your brain chemistry. So if you have 5 minutes every time you finish a meeting, every time you finish a task, you'll be amazing.
Great tip. Next question comes from Belinda. How you mentioned this earlier. How can someone protect their focus if they have children who don't understand that?
I don't have children, so I don't want to pretend I know how it feels. I do have nephews and spend a strange amount of time with them this Christmas, like 15 days, and it was very challenging for me as a person who constantly meditates. But one thing I would say from my experience is start doing things that you would like to do for your focus in front of them. Like, I sat down in my bed in my brother's house doing nothing, and my niece passed by the door and she's like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, "Nothing." It's like, "You can't do nothing." And I'm like, "Yeah, come, I'll show you. You can do nothing." And that for her was like, or you're crazy or this is amazing. And she just got so curious about it. So I was not successfully doing nothing because she was there with me, but it was really a powerful moment for it. And I had the same with my nephew in other moments related to distraction, actually, and to insatisfaction. And he's 8 years old, but he cannot ask that to anybody. So if you start making efforts for your own focus, and you can find moments that you can do that by yourself. Can you get up? I have one of my coaches who gets up at 6 a.m. because the whole hour that she gets before she wakes up the children to go to school makes the whole difference in her day. It's the thing that really makes everything else work for her. And it's an effort because she wasn't a morning person before, but it's so valuable to her right now that she does it. If your kids are very small, maybe you don't have that possibility because you have to get in as many hours of sleep as you can. So don't pressure yourself. If you are queuing somewhere to get food and you have 2 seconds in the queue to close your eyes, those little moments are important. It's not nothing. Not everybody has to sit to meditate for 30 minutes to get an effect. We all can take these little moments, close our eyes, shut down any noise, put just a timer, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, whatever, until someone claims you or needs something, and use that moment for yourself to go inward. And those things are going to add up, I assure you.
Maybe there's an argument to sort of gamify doing nothing as well. Kids love copying and joining in on things. Just the other day, a kid was trying to join in on my yoga class, and it's like they see and they want to copy and they want to do it too.
Yeah.
So maybe that's an idea, is to try and turn it into a game of like, so, Sleeping Lions is a classic, isn't it? I don't know if you know that,
Yeah.
but school teachers just tell the kids to go to sleep. They pretend you're a lion, and suddenly it's an imagination exercise rather than just, can everyone just please not talk for a bit?
Yeah, exactly. And showing them is like, I sit in meditation instead of hiding somewhere. I just sit there and they can see me. And children are usually curious. And of course, my nephews are, a lot on devices and stuff, but they get curious and they want to know. And they're like, why are you doing these things? Why is it important to you? I had so
Yeah.
many questions about that. It's like, why? What does this mean? So it's a great way to introduce them, and maybe they're not interested right away, but maybe in 5 years they are. And that was a seed that was planted in that little moment.
Yeah, for sure. Like if someone on the internet is just telling them, hey, like meditate or do nothing, they wouldn't care. But if it's someone close to them in their family, then they're really going to respect that person and pay attention to them. So yeah, great point. Thanks for your question, Belinda. It was a good one. I'm sure that will resonate with other parents out there. We've got one more time for one more question, I think. Dana has asked this question. Starting your workday with the tasks that require the highest level of creativity and effort, is that a good idea? Is this Eat the Frog? I don't know. Do you
What
know
is
that book?
the frog? No.
Eat the Frog is a book on this kind of stuff and productivity that says do
Mm,
the hardest task first. The frog is like, you don't want to eat the frog, right? It tastes disgusting, but if you have
mm,
to, you should do that first before you do the other things.
mm. Well, I think there is the part that is related to getting the hardest thing out of the way first and tackle it for sure. In terms of focus and concentration, we have to consider that the people who are best, who are not deep meditators or monks or anything who can be, focused for so long, but us, in the Western world, um, we maximum, if we have a lot of practice, we can pull 4 hours of deep work every day, maximum. And the average is between an hour two. So if you know that that is more or less the limit, start using your deep work first thing in your work day and use it with the most important thing because you don't need deep concentration for logistical tasks, right? So choose the thing that is the most important to you, that you want to add value to it, that you want to discover how deep it goes, that you want to train your mind to do it better, to go deeper, to be more innovative in that, and use those 2 hours, 3 hours of deep focus that your mind allows for and concentration that can, grow as you practice more. Use them for the thing that is the most important to you for sure, and then you have the rest of your working day to do shallow tasks who don't require
And
any
maybe
effort.
you can recharge that capacity to do deep work as well. If you leave deep work until late, if you're a night owl and you say, "Oh, I'll do my, creative writing at midnight," well, it doesn't give you any room for error. Like
Mm,
if you are tired by that point, or if you can't access that deep work, then you lose it until the next day, and then you probably
yeah.
do the same again and fail again. So
Yeah, the risk about doing first everything. For example, I start my day with 30 minutes of emails and checking Slack and all of that. Not because of my focus, I mean, because of my focus, but for another reason. Because if I have stuff open, I can't concentrate. And so I make sure in email, Slack, and everything that I'm handling, that everything is okay for the day, and then I go and do my deep work right after. So I check all of that. I go and do my 2 hours of deep work, and then I do everything else. I let everybody know those are the 2 hours that I'm not taking no calls. I might respond much. I say people I don't respond as fast. I don't respond at all, um, and then I'll be back later, right? And I'll have the rest of the day for calls and meetings and whatever. Um, but the thing that I wanted to say is keep into consideration that if you spend your whole day doing shallow tasks, swimming in distraction, which means I'm writing emails while at the same time I'm trying to finish this thing. There's this call coming on in the meantime. I'm posting on social media. If you do all of that, your attention is depleted and you are training your mind in distraction for the whole day, hoping that at the end of the day you still have your 2 hours of deep work, and you don't. Your mind is already totally scattered for the day, and it's going to have a really really hard time to focus in and to laser in on anything that you want to do. So if we work keeping the mind and how the mind works into consideration, we should bring those things at the very beginning if we can.
great. Thank you so much for all your answers, Sally, and your tips. I hope everyone out there was taking notes. If not, watch the replay. Uh, Feel free to get in touch with me as ever if you've got questions about writing or anything else that I do. We can see your website, Sally, but where can people get in touch with you outside of that, and why might they want to?
Hmm. You might wanna. I'm nowhere Sally, now here Sally, who can be read in any of the two ways on purpose. Anywhere online. That's my name everywhere. And on my website and my Instagram and LinkedIn is where I'm most active. If you come to the website, you're going to find links to my meditation classes online, which are free to join. There's one in Spanish, in case someone is listening and speaks Spanish, and there's one in English. They're every Thursday. They're open to everyone. It doesn't matter the level of experience. The one in English is more focused on professional life. So all tools from meditation that will help you precisely with focus and many other things. And if you have any questions, there is a forum on my website. I love people getting in touch, proposing things that they want, like, oh, I would like this thing or this other thing. And following all this, also how our mind works. I'm soon going to do a goal setting workshop, which is setting goals from the perspective of mind power instead of willpower, which is a completely different way also of looking at how we try to implement changes in our lives. You can subscribe to my meditation class and you will receive a notification when that class is happening. You can subscribe on my website to my newsletter. You can drop me a message and say, Sally, keep me posted on everything, and I'll do it. So anywhere you find me, just drop me a line and say you were here or you saw the recording, and I'll be super happy.
And you'll look at those messages in a timely and focused manner when you wake up in your
I
first
will.
30 minutes.
When I start working, because when I wake up, from the moment I wake up to start working, there's 2 hours. If anyone wants to know what happens in there, which is really important too, then yeah, get in touch.
Great. Thanks so much for sharing all your deep work wisdom with us. It's been really interesting for me, and hope it has been for you, everyone out there. Thanks for coming along. That's it for today. If you've got any more questions, get in touch with me or Sally, and I'll keep my eye on the comments for these videos.
Yes.
I'll be back next month sometime with another webinar and another guest, TBD. See you then. Thanks
Thank
again,
you so
Sally.
much.
And
Thank you so much
thanks
for
for coming,
having
everyone.
me, and everybody for coming and asking your questions. Hope to see you very soon around the platform.